Welcome, bros and brosvines. My name's Albert von Stalin, and today I'm gonna be reviewing episode 11 of Taishou Otome Otogibanashi. Do I really need to deal with Funimation's problems again? Before I complain any further, let's go! A few more days and it's finally Christmas. I won't be reviewing on that day as it's a day of celebration. So I will be doing the episode 12 review on the 27th. Also, the project that I had mentioned last time will be moved to this week. As for the earthquake stuff, that will be for later as there's quite a few things to talk about there. We don't get a maiden introduction this episode and we skip straight to the opening song. Also, Funimation didn't mess up this time. They actually remembered to place the subtitles properly in this episode. As Tamahiko leaves for Tokyo, we see Ryo and the village kids. Ryo tells Tamahiko that she'll be coming along too because she's gonna be looking for Ryotaro. Tamahiko asks the kids if their families and the other villagers are alright. The kids say that since the village is destroyed, everyone was made homeless. Tamahiko gets a brilliant idea. He tells the kids that everyone in the village can stay at his place for the time being, and Ryo will come with him. With that, the two of them set off to Tokyo. As night fell, Ryo notices that for a rich boy, Tamahiko sure is tough. Tamahiko is powered by Yuzuki's love, after all. Meanwhile, Ryo cares about Ryotaro a lot and it shows. The next day, they walk through a town which was devastated by the earthquake. Tamahiko notes that this is the first time that he had felt anxious about the potential of losing someone, while Ryo says that she wants both Yuzuki and Tamahiko to call her older sister. The former shows us just how strong Tamahiko and Yuzuki's relationship is, while the latter reinforces what I've been saying in the previous review about Ryo, Tamahiko, and Yuzuki. Later, Tamahiko and Ryo had arrived to a rainy Tokyo. They noticed that while Tokyo Station is still standing, the surrounding area had been destroyed. With that, Tamahiko looks for Yuzuki until Tamako pops up and he faints from exhaustion. We now see Tamahiko waking up to the sight of his uncle Tamasuke inside Tokyo Station. Tamasuke says that Japan's medical relief teams are in Tokyo because most of the city's hospitals had burned down. I'll be getting as to why later on. Tamahiko says that he wants to look for Yuzuki, but Tamasuke says that looking for Yuzuki is not an easy task. Unfazed, Tamahiko says that Yuzuki is still alive and that impresses Tamasuke. Tamasuke is impressed that his nephew had become a Gigachad among men. This is the same dude who had operated on his nephew's right hand after the latter had been in a car accident after all. Truly, Yuzuki is that influential in his nephew's and niece's lives. After that, Tamahiko looks for Yuzuki and Ryo looks for Ryotaro. Unlike Tamahiko, Ryo knows where Ryotaro could be found, in Asakusa. Tamako joins in the search for Yuzuki. Tamahiko and Tamako had gone to a maternity ward because Midori is pregnant and that Yuzuki is with Midori. After this, the siblings had gone to that Saigo Takamori statue in Ueno Park. This was filled with people and posters as that statue is a landmark. We get a montage of the Shima siblings looking for Yuzuki. As Tamako is about to drink some water, Tamahiko overhears something. That so many women in the Yoshiwara district had died that the dead would have to be cremated en masse and that made Tamahiko depressed. Tamako says that Yuzuki won't die like that and he realizes that he needs to be strong for her and pats her head. Why is Tamahiko so based? As night falls, they walk towards Tokyo Station when Tamako is holding her brother's hand. They see that the young woman is looking quite sus, so they approach her and tell her that ending it all is not a good idea. The young woman says that she's pregnant and that she's not gonna off herself. When Tamahiko notices that the young woman is carrying an onsen and that the young woman is Midori, she says that she got separated from Yuzuki due to a large firestorm. Tamahiko then tells Tamako to take care of Midori as he searches for Yuzuki alone. He searches for her night and day when he hears a familiar voice. It's Kotori singing. He is then greeted by Hakaru and Hakaru tells it all, that he and his sister are helping out by lifting people's spirits up via singing and handing out rations to people. Later, Kotori and Hakaru are surprised that Tamahiko has been looking for Yuzuki. Kotori gives some food for Tamahiko and after thanking her, he looks for Yuzuki again. We see a different montage this time. That Midori is in Tokyo Station with Tamasuke and Tamako. Ryo had found Toyotaro. The village doctor and his nurse from episode 4 are with the villagers of Chiba in Tamahiko's place. And the Shiratori siblings are singing again. All because of Yuzuki's influence. Yuzuki truly is the best girl of 2021. A kid steals 2 of Tamahiko's remaining rice balls when the kid's younger sister runs and trips in front of Tamahiko. Tamahiko pats a little girl on the head and gives the rice balls to the kids. The boy says that while he and his younger sister were separated from their parents, he mentions that some lady had saved them and the siblings had taken Tamahiko to a ruined house. The younger sister mentions that the lady's name is Yuzuki and Tamahiko goes into that house. He finally finds Yuzuki lying down on the ground. The siblings ask if the guy is Tamahiko and he says yes. Tamahiko then tells the siblings that if they go to Jinbocho, they'll find Kotori before asking them to tie Yuzuki to his right hand using his scarf. After that, they run towards Tokyo Station and the episode ends. This episode follows chapters 18, 19, and even the second part of chapter 22.5. I'll be talking about the Great Kanto earthquake here and now. At 11:58 a.m. Japan Standard Time on the morning of September 1st, 1923, an earthquake happened at the Sagami Trench underneath Sagami Bay, which had lasted a total of 5 minutes. The intensity was at 7.9 on the Richter scale and had flattened most of Tokyo along with Yokohama and the surrounding areas. It was said that people couldn't stand up because of how intense the earthquake was. As the earthquake happened around lunchtime when people were cooking food and most of the affected areas' homes were mostly made out of bamboo, large fires had occurred and had spread rather quickly. Making it worse was that a typhoon on the other side of Japan at the time was bringing in strong winds towards Tokyo, which had caused the already large fires to spread even quicker. Yuzuki and Midori were fleeing some of those fires together before becoming separated at one point. The worst fire happened at the former Army Clothing Depot, where around 38,000 people were instantly burned alive after taking shelter from the earthquake. As to what Yoshiwara is, this was Tokyo's red light district. During the Great Kanto earthquake, the whole area was pretty much destroyed, much like the rest of Tokyo itself. The Saigo Takamori statue in Ueno Park is still there to this day. During the Great Kanto earthquake, people had used that statue as a place where notices of missing people were attached. The affected areas, such as Tokyo and Yokohama, were placed under martial law. Rumors were thus banned, and the government, along with the emperor, did help in the recovery effort. The total death toll varied from 105,385 people to around 142,800 people. In 1960, every September 1st is designated as Disaster Prevention Day to commemorate the people who had died in the Great Kanto earthquake and to remind people to be prepared in the event of a natural disaster like earthquakes and typhoons. This episode, along with the previous one, are quite well made. Why? Because these episodes had shown us what happens during a massive disaster like a very strong earthquake. People in these types of things tend to try to survive and help each other out. In a future video, I will be talking about the entirety of Yuzuki's influence because I'm a completionist and I need to make sure that I have all my facts right in order for me to talk about her influence. As for Tamahiko, his love for Yuzuki had made him endure hunger, thirst, and even exhaustion just to try find her. I do admire his dedication as it shows me how much he had grown as a character. He wasn't just a depressed man anymore like in episode 1 but something else. A Gigachad. He shows us that he's able to lead and inspire. One day, I'll also be making a video about the masculinity of Tamahiko for the same reason as to why I'll be doing the influence and femininity of Yuzuki. I recommend this episode as a follow-up to the previous one. Come join me next week as I'll review episode 12. Please like, share, and subscribe, and it's gonna help, bros and brosophians.